You got to have a little dirt on you for anybody to trust you. That was a classic line from Denzel Washington. Kent is the cancer of happen. That is a direct quote from Charlie Sheen during his 2011 meltdown. Using the quotes and advice that people have given you over the years will make you a fortune. It's made me at least six figures just implementing the mindset that comes along with those quotes.
It's a dirty truth for Deante Young. Hit a main course, get an entree done. Pull up on the gang, all the fly day ones. Tune in, come and see what Deante done. It's a dirty truth for Deante Young.
So I'm not going to keep you long, but I just want to kind of make it understood why quotes and the philosophy behind the quotes and the implementation of the quotes into your operating system and kind of making it your mission statement, why that's extremely valuable. Okay, so my new storytelling framework is called Live Set. That is Liveset. Each letter stands for something very important. The L stands for legacy shadows. That is all about your dirty truth and the things that's happened to you over the course of your life, setbacks, challenges, things you hate talking about, discussing, sharing, things that might be embarrassing. Insecurities, limiting beliefs, that is the L in your live set. Everyone has that. The I in live set is internal intersections. Your internal intersections is with the people that are related to you, whose lives you intersected with at the time of your birth or at some point during the course of your life. As long as they're related to you, they are referred to as your internal intersections. The V in live set is for virtual intersections. Those are the people or songs or podcasts or books that you have heard. And if it's people, you've never met them. For example, Michael Jackson would be a virtual intersection for me because my life intersected with his, or shall I say, his life intersected with mine. We never met each other, but he inspired me. So anything virtual, any quotes you heard in a podcast that was powerful, added value to you, those are your virtual intersections. And then the E is external intersections. Those are the people that we meet throughout the course of our lives. People that are bosses, people that are friends, people that are coaches, mentors, anybody that you know as you go through your life. Those are external intersections. The S in live set is signature self. That is your personality, the tendencies, the habits that you have, the quirks, the uniqueness, the things that make you specifically you. The E in live set, the second E in live set is for edge battles. That is your vices, the things that you struggle with or have struggled with, whether it's addiction of any type, whether it's coffee, cigarettes, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, and it's closely tied to the seven deadly sins, where you're talking about gluttony and lust and all that kind of stuff. And we all have that. And then the T is your trade craft. In other words, what is your greatest talent, your skill, but wrapped into the story of how you created that talent or skill. So we're going to focus on the three intersections in this because part of the virtual intersections, the internal intersections, and the external intersections are based around the quotes that people tell you. And I think all of us can relate to the fact that we've been told quotes over the course of time. And when you implement those quotes, they are very, very powerful. Whether it's Jay-Z saying, difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week. That's an amazing quote because that's the kind of thing that can take you to a whole different level if you internalize that. What does difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week? What does that mean? Well, to me, I take that to mean something that you consider to be very difficult. He's saying that it takes a day to figure that out. And then impossible means it takes a little bit longer, but it's getting done either way. And if you internalize that, if I internalize that, then we go further and faster and we create things and make things happen that we never thought. But think about that. Difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week. That's a great line from Jay-Z. You think about a Tony Robbins quote. One of my favorite Tony Robbins quotes is, "It's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness." What does that mean? Well, I know I want to get a podcast started. I don't really have this microphone. I don't really have this camera that's high quality. So it's like, okay, you don't have those resources, but you do have resourcefulness, which means you can do something just grassroots. Use a tape recorder. Use anything you can that's going to capture your voice. So being resourceful is better and more valuable than having resources. And that is the power of a quote. That's just one of those things, right? But I want to share 9 quotes that really helped to elevate my life. And quite frankly, because I internalized those quotes, has helped me earn at least $100,000 in income because I internalized those quotes. So I'm going to start with 3 quotes from my internal intersections. Those are relatives. So the first one would be, "One monkey don't stop no show." My grandmother said that to me in 1994. I was a young kid at the time, and she said, "One monkey don't stop no show." What does that mean? Well, one monkey don't stop no show means that if you try something and it falls flat, guess what? That one monkey, meaning that one situation, that one person, that one opportunity, that doesn't stop you from getting to where you're trying to go. And to prove that that's something that really is legitimate is if you take that phrase, that quote, "one monkey don't stop no show," and you use that as part of your operating system, you will go again further and faster, and you will accomplish things that someone else who doesn't understand that will ever do. So when it comes to that, it's think about Jay-Z. Jay-Z is another one. I'm keep bringing up Jay-Z, but he tried to get a record deal and was rejected many times. And then he finally just did it himself. So he ended up being the monkey that made the show go on. Think of Colonel Sanders. I mentioned this before. Colonel Sanders was rejected by over 1,000 banks trying to start KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. And guess what? They all turned him down. And then when he got to like the 1,010th bank, or something of that nature, guess what? He became the guy we know today, Colonel Sanders, the icon of Kentucky Fried Chicken, aka KFC. So one monkey don't stop no show in a nutshell means one person, one thing, one opportunity does not end all hope. You just keep going forward. So that's one of the biggest things that I've internalized, and I've used that many times. As a matter of fact, the first ghostwriting client that I got was not the first ghostwriting client that I tried to get. The first ghostwriting client wanted me to ghostwrite his book, and I created this very detailed, awesome proposal and sent it to him, and then he just completely rejected it by not even responding. And all of my calls and messages to him saying, "Hey, what's going on?" It didn't do a thing. He just disregarded everything that I tried to say to him. And that was very frustrating. But one monkey didn't stop a show because just the following month after that, I landed my first ghostwriting client. And then so far, I have several ghostwriting clients that I've had over these years. So one monkey did not stop that show. Another quote from my internal intersections comes from my grandfather. And that quote is, "I'd rather be an hour early than a minute late." So what does that mean? That's kind of self-explanatory. So when it comes to having meetings or anything that you are attending, especially something that's notable and important, instead of just dragging yourself in there late, especially when it has a very specified start time, just be there early. I feel like being there on time is like being late, and that's what that means. I'd rather be an hour early than a minute late because a minute late might seem like not a big deal, but it all goes into the way people perceive you, and perception is everything. Perception oftentimes is more powerful than reality. If I perceive someone to be guilty of something, and that's all you can really tell me. Now the reality is they may not be guilty of it, but my perception just carries me to what my belief system is. And so that's why it's important. So if someone perceives you to be not serious or not a reliable person or not a professional person because you showed up 2 minutes late, that's not something you want to do. So what I was doing was when I first started going to church consistently 4 years ago, I was coming early, but then I got to a point where I was coming almost 2 hours early. And even though church started at 11 o'clock, I felt like I was running late if I got there like past 9:15. And that's a great mentality to have. And that has more often than not impressed people to the point where they have spoken to me and said, wow, this is pretty cool, man. You get here early. Because now I want that to be a part of how people perceive me. I want that to be part of my brand. Because if they perceive me to be serious in that way, man, this guy, he got here before anybody else was here, before the pastor was here, before, the congregation was here or the choir, then that's going to make me look even better. And so you never can really quantify how important these details are. Another one, you weren't born, you were created. That was my mother. So my mother, she says that, and that gives me an extra layer of belief in myself because I struggle with insecurities and self-consciousness, limiting beliefs for a long time. But when she says that you weren't born, you were created, that means a whole lot because especially I never met my father. He actually attacked my mother as a teenager and she became pregnant. So when I first found out about that when I was 11 years old, that's easy to feel like you ain't nothing, right? But when she said that you weren't born, you were created, that makes me feel like not that I'm better than anybody else, but it makes me feel like I'm special because of the way and the circumstances of my conception was, let's just say, a whole lot like Mary. Okay, so um, that gives me an extra layer of awesomeness and makes me walk around and not feel like I'm snooty, but makes me feel like, you know what? I was meant to be here. Now, all of us was meant to be here, but I'm saying I was meant to be here specifically because I wasn't born, I was created. So by her saying that, that became a powerful sort of refrain in my mind. And it helps me lead with feeling like I'm someone that's worthwhile. Okay, so now we're going to go to virtual intersections. Virtual intersections, again, are the people that you've never met, but they inspired you, the books, the podcasts, the articles, anything that is in the media that you read, listened to, overheard, or people that are famous or just not famous and you just never met them. So, a virtual intersection would be with Les Brown. Les Brown is a very extraordinarily successful motivational speaker. And one thing that he has said, a quote that he says that I live by, don't worry about what they have, bring what you have. And it just gave me chills the first time that I heard him say that because he was talking about how he basically had a fourth grade education and was educable, mentally retarded. And he went to this big company speaking event and he was going to be one of the speakers. And all the people there basically had PhDs and master's degrees, all these big time degrees. And here he is barely with even a high school understanding of things, but his eloquence with his speech and oration was second to none, really, in my opinion. But he was kind of having a talk with himself. He's like, man, these people got PhDs and master degrees, and I ain't got nothing. I'm educable, mentally retarded, all these different things. And then he said something clicked in his head and said, don't worry about what they have, bring what you have. And again, when I heard that, I'm just like, wow, that is so powerful because we all have something very valuable, something very, very powerful. And I don't know if you guys know Les Brown, but I'm going to show you Les Brown. But the guy is just amazing. This is Les Brown. All right, so he said, don't worry about what they have, bring what you have. It's so incredibly powerful when you think about how how that can take you to a whole different level. Because see, that makes me feel like when I hear him say, don't worry about what they have, bring what you have, that makes me feel like, man, something that no one else has, and that is my specific personality, my specific point of view, my specific worldview, and the things that my life experiences have led me to. No one else in the history of the world or going forward will ever have the specific situations and circumstances and experiences that I have, meaning I have a fresh perspective, meaning this applies to everybody. Let me say that for the people in the back. This applies to everybody. Don't worry about what they have. Bring what you have. Okay, so this guy, he's got a large dingaling. Okay, well, guess what? I might not have a large dingaling, but you know what I do have? I have other abilities from a sexual standpoint, and I also have a personality that this guy can't even touch. I have a certain empathy, a certain way of making people feel good about themselves that he can't touch. So whatever he has, it's not bringing him any further glory than it's bringing me. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to what I can do, what I can uniquely provide, that's what that tells me. It's like a rallying cry for yourself. Once again, don't worry about what they have, bring what you have. Another one that is awesome from a virtual intersection is the great Steve Harvey. So Steve Harvey, of course, we all know who Steve Harvey is, but I like to have visual aids here. So Steve Harvey said, people who want to see you win will help you win. Remember that. 100, right? Think about that. People who want to see you win will help you win. And when I first read that quote, that was from him on Twitter. At the time it was Twitter, but now it's X. When I first heard him say that or read him say it, I said, that is so true because I started thinking about the people that actually help me to try to win. And that's, my wife, that's my mom, that's my best friend Jermaine. That's these really amazing people that I can't even put into words just how amazing they are, right? And it's very exciting to be able to think about, man, that's really the barometer you need to use. Think about anybody that tried to help you do something, especially when they know what you're trying to do and it's like in the direction of trying to get to the next level or realize a dream or something like that. Think about that and realize who helped me and who didn't. Now, you might say, oh, well, not everybody's going to help you. Well, I tell you, the people that truly want to help you win, the people that truly want you to win, I should say, they will help you. They will invest in you. They will say, okay, let's do this. Or what do you need me to do? So that is such a powerful thing. And I'm like, man, that is going to be my barometer. One of them at least. So think about it in that way. Okay, another one is from also another legendary motivational speaker. His name is Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is a phenomenal, phenomenal speaker. And of course, he's no longer with us, but Jim Rohn says, discipline your disappointment. It's amazing. That's so simple, yet so profound. Discipline your disappointment. So it's easy to get riled up over something that you don't like or something bad that happened or whatever. And it's easy to just be like, oh man, and just shut down, right? But the great thing about it is that it doesn't have to be that way because you can just discipline your disappointment. And it's going to take some time to do it, but you can definitely do it because you'd be like, "Oh my God, this is horrible. This is frustrating." And you just realize, okay, okay, let me just take a deep breath and really think about it, really consider a couple things. And okay, okay, I got it. Live to fight another day. When you just get in the habit of trying to discipline your disappointment, getting discipline in your disappointment, it's going to take you to a different level. Like all these other ones, they take you to a different level. And so when I get frustrated and annoyed, and sometimes I get that way about myself, I exercise disciplining my disappointment. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go to the last intersections, which is the external intersections, the people you meet along the way on your journey through life. So the number one external intersection, this is from a man named Jim Serace. Jim Serace is a very successful guy, multimillionaire. He's a good friend of mine. He was the co-founder of the agency that I worked for over a decade ago, a life insurance agency, and he's a worldwide business person. So what he says to me, because he's also an ordained minister, so he's very godly. He says, you learn more in the valley than you do on top of the mountain. And if that's not a truism, I don't know what is. You learn more in the valley than you do on top of the mountain. Really, comfort teaches you nothing. You might think it does. You might think that you say, oh, well, now I see what works when you're successful. But really, it's really in the valley where you got to try to figure things out. And things are uncomfortable, things are difficult, things are challenging and trying. That's where you really earn your stripes. And it sucks. And trust and believe, I'd much rather not be in the valley. I'd rather be on the mountaintop. But I tell you, the education of all educations comes when you're in the valley. And knowing that, you start to get creative about how you can solve problems. And I know just even for myself within the past few weeks, me and my wife, we've been in a different kind of valley than are used to. But we are finding creative ways, and I'm specifically proud of myself because she's a given as far as her just being badass. But Billy Badass, she is doing the thing, right? And being in the valley, it gives you this tough edge because you're forced to figure things out. And I think that's remarkable. Number two, external intersections. When you share your wins, it creates competition. When you share your frustrations, it creates community. And that is from my great friend Wayne Dawson, a 46-year broadcaster, 11-time Emmy winner, wonderful, amazing guy. He's a legend here in Northeast Ohio and really across the country in a lot of places. But in his capacity as pastor, he said that, and it aligns so closely with my whole dirty truth philosophy. It's about sharing your dirty truth, sharing your story, period, especially the hardships, especially your uncomfortable backstory, because that's the thing that creates connection. Perfection will never create connection. So what he's saying is essentially what I say. He's just saying it in a different way, but I'll say that again. When you share your wins, it creates competition. When you share your frustrations, it creates community. The great Wayne Dawson. Like, I don't know how anyone cannot look at that and just carry that with them and say, man, I'm going to step out on faith and I'm going to be brave and I'm going to share my frustration. I'm going to share my dirty truth, my hardships, my testimony, my setbacks, the challenges, all the limiting beliefs, the insecurities, all of that stuff. And you really go to a different place. And when he says community, I take that as you're finding common ground with people. People love people that are being very relatable. Okay. I just think that's phenomenal. And just to show you Wayne's book, The Seeds of Greatness Are Within You, is the memoir that I ghost wrote for Wayne. And it's a very powerful book. A lot of these posts are created by me. You look at this picture right here. This is myself, Wayne, Stephanie Schaefer, Christy Capel. This is when we were on Fox 8 News in the morning. There's a whole lot of this. Obviously, that's me. That's me. The Seeds of Greatness Are Within You is Wayne's book, and it's absolutely phenomenal because he is an iconic individual, an amazing friend. So that's how we look at that. All right, so the last one is I'm never down. I'm either up or I'm getting up. That is by a guy named Matt Parks. He is also a very, very successful multimillionaire, and he was a part of the insurance company that I worked for. And he's just such a role model, and he's really just a go-getter. And it was so incredible. But when he said that, you're never down, you're either up or you're getting up. So that feels like a rallying cry for anyone who thinks that they are down and out or down on their luck or whatever, just to be able to look at it as, you know what, I'm not actually ever down. I might see myself as being down, but actually I'm either up or I'm getting up. So you don't want to feel like that you're down for the count. Like think of it in terms of boxing. You don't want to feel like, oh man, I'm TKO'd. I'm down on the pavement, whatever. You don't want to be looking like, let me see, Mike Tyson knockout opponent Yeah, you don't want to be like these people. So you're not one of these guys. You're not down here like this is Tyson's 1988 fight with Michael Spinks. So you don't want to be like this. What actually said Clifford E.T. I don't know. So yeah, you don't want to be down like that. So you're never down. You're either up or you're getting up. That's the whole mentality of this whole idea, right? And so I'm really sold on these nine quotes. I can tell you some other quotes. Some let's just put in life changing quotes. Just look at a couple. So this one, Maya Angelou, you will face many defeats in life, but never let yourself be defeated. Another one that Martin Luther King said, he says, if you can't, well, how does it go? He says, um, if you can't, if you can't if you can't walk, crawl. If you can't, if you can wait, if you can't walk, crawl. If you can't run, walk. If you can't, if you can't fly, run. But by all means, keep moving forward. That's pretty powerful. You look at this one from Jim Brown. Your life does not get better by chance; it gets better by change. That's really awesome. Robin Sharma, he's an iconic entrepreneur. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. These are all phenomenal ones. And I just say that it has a lot of power. It's not so much the quote, it's the application of the quote, the internalization of the quote. And so that's just what I want to give you guys and let you know that you can change your life in a million different ways just by thinking about the quotes that you've learned from your intersections, your internal intersections, your virtual intersections, and your external intersections. So even Charlie Sheen, when he says, can't is the cancer of happen, that's powerful. Denzel Washington, when he says, you got to have a little bit of dirt on you for anybody to trust you. That's true. That's why you should share your dirty truth. That simple.